get away with anything now. Is the goal just to set the precedent where they can lower the borders completely but set up checkpoints on highways and search people internally and openly fund Al-Qaeda and rename it IS or ISIS and go on the news and say your kids belong to the state? And I mean, government is just going so crazy right now. And what are they doing bringing Ebola in, multiple patients, and sticking them in hospitals with plastic tarps over them, when it's well known that those hospitals are just full of superbugs that could merge with or mutate with this Ebola? I mean, there is no telling. I want to play a clip from CBS News briefly, where they're talking about this, just in case you're a new listener and don't believe me, that live Ebola in people are being brought into hospitals full of sick people. And by the way, it's not even its own wing. I stand corrected. It's part of a wing with patients in it. Who would want to be in a hospital with Ebola in it? I mean, this is insane. Here it is.
Dr. Ken Brantley is the first of 2 American Ebola patients to be transported back to the U.S. for treatment. He arrived at Dobbins Air Reserve Base near Atlanta Saturday, bound for an Emory University medical facility for treatment. Nancy Wright-Ball, the second American infected, is expected to be returned to the U.S. early next week.
That's enough. I'm going to go back to Paul Watson. If I'm hyperventilating more than usual here, it's because, ladies and gentlemen, this is getting crazier and crazier and crazier by the minute. And who needs death panels, or who needs to put VA patients on secret death lists, not be given surgery for life-threatening cancer and stuff, when you can just bring Ebola in? And again, nothing may happen with this. I hope that's the case. But no one would ever take the risk before. Now, we're going back to Paul Watson and more analysis coming up in the next hour. I think it is extremely important for listeners to understand how important Infowars.com is, PrisonPlanet.com, and the fact that we really have our finger on the pulse with our analysis, our guests, our research, our HUMET, you, the listeners out there, the human intelligence, to really try to turn things around. So please tell friends and family to tune into this broadcast right now at Infowars.com. or PrisonPlanet.com to the free audio feeds. There's a free video feed at Infowars.com/show. And if we get enough people aware of what's happening, the politicians and other corrupt influences at the top won't be able to get away with what they're doing. There's a lot of good people in corporate governance, corporate systems, private systems, you name it, and governmental systems to turn this around. Paul Watson, you were mentioning a BBC article. You wrote articles back at the time in 2001, 2002, when the weaponized foot and mouth got out. It turned out from a government bioweapons lab and then got spread all over the country. Lyme's disease came from Plum Island, on record off the coast of New York, basically weaponized syphilis, tick-borne. It was a Nazi scientist they brought over there to create that. Deer swam the mile from Plum Island over to New York State. I mean, and then you have all the secret experimentation, shooting black people up with syphilis. They may just be bringing these Ebola people in as a cover for when they release Ebola later. I mean, Paul, my gut, my spidey sense is really freaking out right now. Paul Watson.
It's a massive concern, Alex. Yeah, this is an article I did 7 years ago, August 2007. 2001, basically, the Labour government, Tony Blair, were in a massive political war with the farming community, who were incensed at Labour's policies inflicted upon them. Lo and behold, early 2001, Foot and Mouth gets released, completely devastates the farming community, millions and millions of cattle and sheep slaughtered and burned. And it turned out, according to reports in the British media, that this vial of foot and mouth virus was stolen from Portondown government bioweapons laboratory. And again, this is not just a hospital. This is a military compound. You know, if you go 5 feet on it, you get guns pointed at your head. And they said that it was, the cover story was, it was stolen by animal rights activists. And that's what caused the outbreak. But then it happened again in 2007, thankfully not as bad an outbreak, but they had an international drill at this Purbright laboratory, again in the UK, which hosted an American pharmaceutical company, and Foot and Mouth was accidentally released again. So these are Loctite secure military facilities and labs where these viruses get out from. And now they're talking about putting Ebola into hospitals, which have basically no security in terms of defense.
This stuff is getting out of level 3 and level 4 bioweapons labs. and then they're going to put it in a hospital that's a perfect vector point with a bunch of sick people.
Exactly, and here's the thing. We're told Ebola is only transferable via bodily fluids. Not true.
It's not true.
Canadian
It's
scientists...
airborne from bats on record. That's even Encyclopedia Britannica.
Yeah, growing concerns over in-the-air transmission of Ebola. BBC News, November 2012. This was Canadian scientists, peer-reviewed, have shown that the deadliest form of the Ebola virus could be transmitted by between species. So what they did is they got pigs that were infected with Ebola, put them in a pen with macaque monkeys, separated them only with a barbed wire fence, and they found within 8 days the macaque monkeys had contracted Ebola from the pigs via their respiratory system, and they were euthanized. So it can be transmitted. It's airborne.
Yeah, I've never gotten threatening, but I'm going to tell the government something right now. If my kids or anybody die from this, I'm holding you responsible. I am sick of you. I'm just saying, I'm sick of it. I've had enough. Texas farmers flipped out after the foot and mouth thing. Remember, they were going to do a drill in Texas using equipment that had been used to kill the sheep and cows in England that was infected with it. Look, I'll tell you what's going on. It's like the 12 Monkeys with Bruce Willis. Excellent film. Folks ought to go watch it. Where it's a bioweapon lab, and it's not the government even doing it. It's a crazy environmentalist that works there that gets it and releases it. See, that's the issue. A lot of it is these bioethicists, eugenicists that work in these government labs themselves, and that even came out in the British news, that they thought an animal rights activist who worked there is the one that released it, Paul.
Exactly. I mean, this comes down to individuals, doesn't it? It's people. You can still get radical environmentalists that work within government facilities that could be responsible for this release. But, you know, I read a quote by a UK scientist who said he would be perfectly happy to sit right next to somebody infected with Ebola on a train. So this is the attitude of the scientists that are working with this. And there's another article which I posted on InfoWars today. Ebola outbreak, Western drugs firms have not tried to find vaccine because virus only affects Africans, says UK's top public health doctor. So this is somebody who's not in the government. He's president of UK Faculty of Public Health.
Wow.
He's basically making the point that because it's only affected black Africans so far, there's been no desire whatsoever to create a vaccine for it.
By the way, that's using race baiting. They've been trying to create a vaccine for a long time. And we got lily white people that are over there trying to save folks that are getting it and dying from it.
Yeah, but in terms of the kind of massive push we saw before the swine flu outbreak in 2009, we've not seen it for Ebola. There actually, as I mentioned before the break, there was a vaccine that's shown promise. The headline is, this Ebola drug works great in monkeys in the lab, but it's being held up by the FDA. And basically, this was created by Tecmira Pharmaceuticals Corporation. They tested it in humans, and it was proven successful, but the FDA blocked it.
Really?
So now you've got doctors freaking out at the FDA saying, why are you blocking this? We should not be having another Ebola outbreak when we've got a potential vaccine for it.
Now, is it a vaccine or a drug?
It's a vaccine.
Well, I tell you, Paul, this is sophisticated. There's something behind this. Why would government be so reckless to bring Ebola in, knowing that if it gets out, they're going to be held accountable? Why are they so reckless?
I really don't know. I don't know whether it's deliberate or... I mean, are they actually working on a treatment for this when we've already apparently got one? I mean, what's the purpose behind it? Because, again... You know, the false pandemic of 2009, they cashed in on that beforehand, which is why they pumped the hysteria.
Why aren't the Ebola victims at government level 4 bioweapons labs underground? Why are they at public hospitals? Why are they at universities? We'll be back, Paul, to look at the other angles. Stay with us. I'm Alex Jones. Aging starts at the cellular level. When cells become toxic, they die early and aging sets in. In the past decade, we have witnessed unparalleled scientific discoveries. During that period, key patented compounds have focused on mitochondrial growth, nerve growth, and rejuvenation. But no one has put together a formula that focuses directly on brain health, nerve growth factors, and optimizing your cellular energy at the same time. We now have the synergistic solution, DNA Force, just one of the key key compounds. BioPQQ is backed by major clinical studies and over 175 PubMed-listed published studies. You want the best that's out there at the lowest price anywhere? The ultimate value, cutting-edge, trailblazing game changer that also supports the InfoWar. Secure your DNA Force today at InfoWarsLife.com or call toll-free 888-253-3139. DNA Force from InfoWars Life.
When you're out on the road, the last place you want to be is on the road. But if the unfortunate happens, you'll be glad you were wearing diamond gussets.
There's a place down in Tennessee where they make blue diamond gusset jeans. They so pride in every stitch, guarantee you'll love the way they fit. They put a diamond gusset in the crotch where you need it most. Blue diamond gussets got it, others don't.
We turn jeans inside out. Diamond gusset jeans. Made in the USA with unparalleled quality. Our Defender motorcycle jeans combine gusset comfort with Kevlar protection.